A new horizon in depression. I want to talk about this real quick, not because I think there's a bunch of people here who are depressed or that there are a bunch of people watching this that are depressed, but statistics show that America is more depressed than anywhere else on the planet, even though we're apparently the most progressive country on the planet. We have the most things. Oh, so are we saying material things don't make us happy? We stress ourselves out throughout life, and we run around and we try to accomplish all the things that people have told us that we need to accomplish. So we believe that all these things are important, and at the end of the day, we're still popping antidepressants more than anyone else because we just hurt. We hurt in our minds, we hurt in our hearts. We're missing something. We have believed a bad story about life, that somehow we aren't supported. This is where I like to bring in the concept of faith, because this begins to test faith in your life big time. And believe me, I'm not just talking to you. This is always a conversation with myself. This is an ongoing thought process every day. Because if I really believe that I'm safe, if I really believe that I'm taken care of, and I really honestly believe that all things work together for good, I can look forward every day, no matter what situation I come into, and know that this is going to work out for me because I believe it. You can either believe that, or you can believe that things happen randomly and that this very well could be terrible. This could break me. You have one of two things to believe. And this begins the conversation of being able to walk in faith, real faith, every day. And when you walk in that, there is nothing to be afraid of, is there? No. So let's talk about what we found out about depression. People with depression experience a decreased rate of neurogenesis in the hippocampus. The hippocampus is an area of your brain that controls, it is a part of your emotional control. And what happens is when you think negatively long enough, and when you believe you are in trouble, and when you are negative enough, what happens is because of all the chemicals that are around, because you've thought all those things, remember, you have a thought, then your body responds with chemicals to tell the rest of your cells. Remember that? When you're stressed out enough, all of that chemical balance constantly, all of those chemicals that are swimming around in your brain, all those adrenal chemicals that are in your body, constantly cause the area of your brain that is responsible for your emotions, a big part of them, to start to shrink. And it slows down the cell proliferation, the cell development. So researchers are pointing to the reduction of cellular and neuronal growth as being the source of depression. What this means, folks, is it means depression is not just a chemical imbalance that is a by chance thing. Depression is a product of thought. And because of the thought, then the biology of the brain changes. Then the chemicals of the brain change. And with nothing but a thought, or a series of thoughts, if you've been in one thought loop long enough, obviously it's going to take a while to get out of it, intentional series of thoughts can help to restore the chemical balance in the brain and the size of the hypothalamus where it belongs. Yes, that's called a cure for depression. Because when you finally do believe that you're safe, and you finally do believe that there's nothing to be afraid of, and you really walk in faith that everything is going to work together for good in my life, and you really believe it, the chemicals in your brain will change, your hypothalamus will be restored to its normal size, the cells will begin to turn over at the rate they're supposed to anymore, and you are no longer physiologically depressed. We witnessed this in the clinic, and it is possible. This is not a theory. The effect of stress causes physical shrinking and reduced resources to the areas of the brain called the prefrontal cortex in the hippocampus. This is where your intelligence is. Okay? So the reduction of resources and size of these areas of the brain affect your center of higher reasoning and are caused by the overdrive of stress hormones in the brain, which leads to depression. So what this means is when you are thinking negative thoughts constantly, you shrink your intellectual cortex, the front part of your brain. You become less intelligent and depressed when you're negative. So negative thoughts are a lot more than just getting around the water cooler and talking about the boss we don't like all the time. When you're doing that, there is a direct physiological reaction to it. It is being proven that depression is not just a random chemical imbalance in the brain, but is the direct effect of stress and negative thinking. And this was first published in the Journal of Science in 2003. Can everyone understand that understanding? Can everyone get that? That it's the thoughts that cause the chemical environment that then causes the shrinking of the actual brain, which ends up in a depressive state. Because your brain can't function appropriately because it's shrinking and the chemicals are messed up. It's not the other way around. It's not somehow that the brain just got smaller, that the chemicals got out of whack, and then it caused your thoughts to be bad. Does that make sense? That's what we're talking about here. So it's looking at it the complete opposite way. This is not meant to offend people with depression. What it's meant to do is it is meant to give them hope that there are other ways to deal with it than meds. Because meds can only address the chemicals. And to be perfectly honest, science has proven that antidepressant medication doesn't work. And there may be people who go through this who say, listen, I have taken antidepressant medications, and I've taken them for 15 or 20 years, and they are saving me right now. You know what is saving them right now? The faith they have in the depression medication. It's called the placebo effect. And no drug on the planet has ever proven to be more effective than the placebo effect. Do you know what that means? You might as well take a sugar pill. If your doc gave you a sugar pill and told you it was your depression medication, and your belief that it was saving you right now would be what was saving you. Literally, the faith is what will save you, that you're okay. The problem is we're putting our faith in a pill. And we don't need a pill for the healing of the mind. It's being renewed every day if we believe it. Science has proven it. Stress. Almost every major illness that people acquire has been linked to chronic stress. Almost every chronic illness can be linked to stress. So put all of the health goals that you wrote down as you've been going throughout this entire process, and most likely stress or the perception of stress in your life has a part in some or all of them. And if you want to lose weight, stress, how you perceive your world, is definitely going to have an impact on it. Thyroid messed up? Stress. Allergies? Stress. Almost every chronic disease has been linked to chronic stress. Can everyone agree that stress is not found in an event or an experience? You can't go looking for stress and find it. Oh, there's stress. There it goes. Boy, I'm glad it didn't look me up. I'd hate to have stress come and find me. No. You can't find stress in an event. Stress is only found in your belief of an event or an experience. Going back to the faith mechanism, if you believe you're safe and you believe that all things work together for good, stress has no place in your life. Because even if a situation is challenging, even if it's painful, you don't have to suffer because you're okay. You can get through it. And what you do is, instead of focusing on the problem, you become solution-minded. We have a challenge in front of us. Let's work on the solution. I encourage people to think about this because over a career of being in clinic and watching people come in and talking about their health problems constantly, when we would begin to work on lifestyle change and we'd get a follow-up appointment coming back, all I would ever hear about is how hard it is. Oh, it's so hard. This food thing is so difficult. Oh, I don't have time for this. Oh yeah, you don't have time for this. What are you going to have time for? You going to have time to keep running yourself into the ground forever? Because that won't happen forever. There will be a hard stop somewhere. People who constantly would come in and tell me about their problems were the people who never got better. The people who came in and asked questions about challenges that came up over that week or over that month, and they asked, I ran into this, and it was, man, I think I completely screwed it up. What would you do in this situation? That's when I knew I had someone who was on their way to lifestyle change. I knew someone was about ready to take control of their situation because they became solution-focused. Instead of seeing the stress in the situation, they realized life is difficult for everyone. Can we all agree? Or do people want to own difficult lives? Are there some of you who want to own it and won't give us the pleasure of saying we have difficult lives too? We all have our difficulties. We can all look back at things that could have absolutely crushed us. And maybe we thought they crushed us at the time and realized that we're sitting here today, we're okay. Here we are. We have the potential for a new day, for new decisions, for new thoughts that can all begin to change our bodies now. The second we begin to decide to believe that we are okay. We're not just okay, we are blessed. And that everything in our life will work out for good. And we will learn from it. And if we stay focused on solutions, that we will find answers. The definition of stress coming out of Dr. Don Colbert's book, Deadly Emotions, this is one I want you to read. This is your further reading. This book is phenomenal. And I just want you to listen to how he writes it because it's one of the more elegant descriptions of stress that I've ever seen written. So stress is the body and mind's physical and biological response to any pressure that disrupts their normal balance. That's pretty easy to understand, right? Kind of disrupts your normal balance, gets in your way a little bit. It occurs when our perceptions of events don't meet our expectations, and then we don't manage our reaction to the disappointment. That is what stress is, right there. In that simple 2 sentences, that solves it for everybody. This literally should change your life right now. Because all stress is not managing your disappointment in a situation where you perceived that it should have happened differently. Right? My mom died when I was 11. Do you want to know where I'm putting that energy now? Right here. Because it can be turned into something powerful if we manage our response to the situation. Stress, that unmanaged reaction, expresses itself as resistance, tension, strain or frustration, throwing off our physiological and psychological equilibrium, and keeping us out of sync. Again, our unmanaged reaction is causing this. Not a situation, not an event in our life. Our unmanaged reaction to our disappointment when we expected that something different should have happened. If your equilibrium is disturbed for long, the stress becomes disabling. Anyone ever felt that? Where your stress literally takes you down. You can feel it almost throughout every vein in your body. We fade from overload, feel emotionally shut down, and eventually get sick. I absolutely love this description of stress because it breaks it down and it helps us realize that stress is nothing more than an unmanaged or a poorly managed response to an event. It doesn't mean, ladies and gentlemen, that you can't have emotion. It doesn't mean that you can't bawl your eyes out or laugh your head off at something. What it means is if you stay focused on how bad something is long enough, it will absolutely destroy your body. So the important fact here is that you can control your reactions, which means that you can control your stress, which in turn eliminates a huge amount of strain on the body. According to the American Institute of Stress, between 75 to 90% of all visits to primary care physicians result from stress-related disorders. This is pain. This is lab levels that are high blood pressure. 75 to 90% of all primary care visits are stress-related. So what this means, does anyone realize why I said this was the most important lesson? How many people came here to perhaps maybe become a little less dependent on a medical system that you're not sure quite about where it's going? You manage your stress differently. You begin to think positively. You manage your reactions to situations. You are going to solve most of your problems. You will reduce your doctor visits right there. The cost of this course is $99, which is less than a 20-minute doctor visit. And you just got the answer to reducing the vast majority of the visits you'll ever need. Thank you very much. Thank you. One of the most important things you'll ever learn in this course is right here. So in Deadly Emotions, Dr. Colbert made a short list of diseases and body stresses that result from chronic or prolonged stress. This means you're not just unhappy with something for a second and then you move on. It means you become problem-focused and you constantly think about your problem or your perceived problem over and over and over again. So number one, impaired immune function. Your immunity is absolutely shut down with stress because your chemical imbalance can't do two things at once. You can't be supporting your immune system and supporting the adrenal system at the same time. You just can't do it. A faulty immune response, autoimmune disorders have been linked to a wide range of diseases. Okay? Reduced glucose regulation, a major factor in diabetes and weight control. Stabilizing your glucose will pretty much fix any metabolic issues that you have and any excess weight gain issues you have. If you are stressed all the time, or if you are a problem-focused person, or if you are negative, you are causing reduced glucose regulation, which will screw up your hormones and it will cause weight gain. Number three, increased bone loss, which has implications for osteoporosis, obviously. Reduced muscle mass and inhibited skin growth and regeneration. Another place where a physician says stress will stop cells from proliferating at the speed they want to. Remember how I talked about the science of how the body was supposed to work? Efficient in its processes, it's constantly regenerating cells, and it's doing so very quickly, versus the science of now in your life. What is going on? Is your body living in an environment that is supporting cells to turn over at the rate it was designed to? Are you giving it the food that it needs to do that? Are you moving? Are you challenging it constantly with chemicals through your hygiene products and through your cleaning products? Are you thinking thoughts that are slowing down the cell growth and proliferation in your body? It is absolutely amazing to think that just your thoughts can slow down how fast cells turn over, isn't it? Blows your mind. So, reducing muscle mass, inhibiting skin growth, and cell regeneration obviously are directly related to strength or decrease of strength later in life, weight control, and the general aging process. Stress will age you way faster than anything else will. Anyone seen a picture of the president when he started, and then see him after the last 4 years? Went through the last 4 years. Hey, you can keep that job. It ages him 10 years. It's amazing. Increased fat accumulation, especially around your midsection where all your sex hormones are. Because you get in the way of your metabolism and things start to get really messed up. And stress will cause this very, very quickly. Impaired memory, learning, and destruction of brain cells. If you are a person that stresses or that tends to think negatively, if you stay focused on negative events, and if you are constantly focused on the challenges in your life opposed to the solutions that can solve them, or what you can learn from the things that are in front of you, you will have impaired ability to remember things. You will have problems learning new things. And you will be killing brain cells in the process because the chemical balance that you are creating through your beliefs is unsupportive to cells staying around. It kills off your brain cells to be stressed out all the time.